President Trump has sent shockwaves through the global economy by announcing a bold and controversial plan. A sweeping 10% tariff on all goods imported from BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and their newly joined partners. This move marks one of the most significant escalations in trade policy in recent years, and it's already causing ripples across international markets and diplomatic circles. The threat doesn't stop at just the core BRICS countries. Trump has made it clear that any nation aligning itself with what he describes as the bloc's anti-American agenda could also face similar penalties. This has dramatically raised the stakes, escalating trade tensions and forcing countries around the world to reconsider their economic and political alliances. At its core, this isn't just about economics or tariffs. It's a direct challenge to the BRICS nations' ongoing efforts to reduce their reliance on the US dollar and to push back against America's long-standing economic dominance. The move is seen as an attempt to reassert US influence at a time when global power dynamics are rapidly shifting. Ironically, Trump's aggressive stance may end up having the opposite effect of what he intends. Instead of dividing the BRICS nations, it could actually unite them further, as they now share a common grievance against what they perceive as US protectionism and economic bullying. This shared challenge could strengthen their resolve to work together more closely. While the tariffs are intended as a deterrent, they risk backfiring by encouraging BRICS members to deepen their cooperation and accelerate efforts to create alternative trade systems that bypass the United States altogether. The US may find itself facing a more coordinated and resilient bloc than ever before. As the world absorbs this dramatic news, governments and businesses everywhere are scrambling to assess the potential fallout. Countries must now weigh the costs of defying the US versus the risks of compliance, knowing that their decisions could reshape global trade for years to come. The move has already sent shockwaves through financial markets, raising urgent questions about the future of free trade, the stability of the global economic order, and the potential for a new era of protectionism. Is this simply a high-stakes negotiating tactic designed to force concessions? Or are we witnessing the opening moves of a much larger and more dangerous economic conflict? The uncertainty is fueling anxiety among investors, policymakers, and ordinary citizens alike. As the world watches with bated breath, everyone is bracing for what comes next. The decisions made in the coming weeks could have profound consequences for the global economy, international relations, and the everyday lives of millions. Trump's threatened tariffs are not just a policy tool, they're a reflection of his deeply held America First philosophy. At its core, this approach is about putting US industries and American jobs above all else, even if it means shaking up the global order. Trump believes that for too long, American workers have been left behind by international deals that favor other countries, and he's determined to change that narrative. He views the global trade system as fundamentally unfair, especially when it comes to major competitors like China. In Trump's eyes, tariffs are more than just taxes. They're powerful leverage, a way to force other nations to the negotiating table and secure better terms for the US. This hardline stance is meant to send a clear signal. America will no longer tolerate what he sees as one-sided deals. The recent push by BRICS nations to reduce their reliance on the US dollar is seen in Washington as a direct challenge to American economic power. For Trump, this isn't just about currency, it's about global influence and the ability to shape international rules. The dominance of the dollar allows the US to borrow money at low rates and to impose sanctions that can cripple adversaries. Any move to undermine this system is met with fierce resistance from American leaders, who see it as a threat to national security and prosperity. The timing of Trump's warning shot is no accident. BRICS is expanding, calling for a multipolar world where no single country dominates. Trump's strategy is to disrupt their momentum before it becomes unstoppable, using economic pressure as his main weapon. He's betting that the threat, or reality, of economic pain will force some countries to think twice before joining the anti-dollar movement. The hope is that fear of lost trade and investment will outweigh the appeal of breaking away from the dollar. This is a high-stakes gamble, rooted in a worldview where international relations are a zero-sum game. One nation's gain is another's loss. Trump is willing to risk short-term disruption for what he sees as long-term American strength. The tariff threat is more than just economic policy. It's a clear and unmistakable message to the world. The United States will not stand idly by as its global dominance is challenged. Trump wants allies and rivals alike to know that America is prepared to defend its interests, whatever the cost. Ultimately, Trump's goal is to preserve American leadership in a world that's changing faster than ever. He believes that only by taking bold, sometimes controversial action can the U.S. maintain its position at the top. The stakes couldn't be higher. The outcome of this gamble could shape the global order for years to come. At the heart of the BRICS alliance lies a bold ambition: to reshape the global financial landscape by reducing the world's dependence on the US dollar. For decades, the dollar has been the backbone of international finance, acting as the world's primary reserve currency and the default medium for global trade. BRICS nations argue that this dollar-centric system grants the United States disproportionate influence over the global economy, allowing it to shape international policies and at times leaving other countries vulnerable to sudden shifts in American economic or political decisions. By conducting trade in their own national currencies, BRICS members hope to reclaim a sense of economic autonomy, insulating themselves from the impact of US-imposed sanctions and reducing their exposure to external shocks. This movement is not just about economics, it's also about asserting national sovereignty and striving for a more equitable, multipolar world order. While the idea of a unified BRICS currency has been floated, it remains a distant and highly complex goal, as it would require unprecedented levels of trust, coordination, and policy alignment among countries with vastly different economies and priorities. The practical obstacles are significant, ranging from technical integration to political disagreements, and the path forward is anything but straightforward. Yet, the shared commitment to de-dollarization continues to unite the bloc, driving ongoing discussions and collaborative efforts. Even the act of openly exploring alternatives to the dollar sends a powerful message to the world. Dissatisfaction with the current system is growing, and change is on the horizon. High-profile events, such as former President Trump's tariff threats and trade wars, have only strengthened BRICS's determination, fueling calls for a more balanced, multipolar financial system where no single nation holds all the cards. The process is gradual, but the global appetite for change is unmistakable, and the momentum behind this movement continues to build with each passing year. China responded to Trump's tariff threats with measured diplomacy, emphasizing that BRICS is about cooperation, not confrontation. The official message, BRICS isn't anti-American but seeks shared development and a more inclusive global system. China's calm approach contrasts with US unilateralism, positioning BRICS as responsible global actors. The group warns that trade wars harm everyone, disrupting supply chains and global stability. BRICS' joint statement condemned protectionism and unilateral trade measures, defending the rules-based system. By framing the conflict as cooperation versus confrontation, BRICS aims to isolate the US on the world stage. Their message, partnership, and shared growth are better than economic threats. The stage is set for a prolonged battle over the future of the global economy. Despite a common enemy in US tariffs, BRICS is far from unified. The alliance is a mix of democracies and authoritarian states, each with unique interests and priorities. Recent expansion to include Egypt, Iran, and the UAE has added complexity. China and Russia push for a confrontational stance, while India and Brazil prefer balancing relations with the West. These differences create persistent tension over the bloc's direction. At the latest summit, not all leaders attended, highlighting internal divisions. Joint statements are easy, concrete agreements are hard. The group's response to US pressure is often cautious and fragmented. Trump's strategy may be to exploit these divisions, hoping tariffs will fracture the alliance. BRICS's future as a global force depends on overcoming these internal challenges. Trump's tariff threats cast a shadow over global trade, with economists warning of dire consequences. Tariffs make imports more expensive, fueling inflation and slowing economic growth. Global supply chains, already fragile, are especially vulnerable to disruption. BRICS condemns this protectionism, arguing it threatens decades of free and fair trade. The risk a cycle of retaliation leading to a trade war that hurts everyone. Uncertainty makes businesses hesitant to invest or hire, stalling economic recovery. Higher prices squeeze consumers, and companies may lay off workers or shut down. While tariffs aim to protect US jobs, many experts say they often do more harm than good. The world faces the real possibility of widespread economic disruption. The tariff conflict signals a deeper geopolitical shift, with the US defending its superpower status against a rising BRICS alliance. Trade policy has become a battleground in a new kind of Cold War, economic, not military. China and Russia drive BRICS' assertive foreign policy, seeking a multipolar world. BRICS frames its goals as pro-reform, not anti-American, but its actions increasingly challenge US influence. Trump's tariffs have pushed BRICS members closer, solidifying their identity as a counterweight to the West. The result, a fragmented, competitive international system where alliances are in flux. Nations must navigate the growing rivalry between the US and the China-Russia axis. The old certainties are gone, replaced by unpredictability and shifting loyalties. Trade and geopolitics are now inseparable, with global stability hanging in the balance. The US dollar's dominance is at the heart of this global power struggle. For decades, the dollar has given America economic privilege and leverage over world affairs. BRICS' push to trade in their own currencies is a direct challenge to this advantage. Their vision, a multi-currency system that's more democratic and stable. But dethroning the dollar is a monumental task. Global finance is deeply tied to it. No other currency, not even the yuan, is ready to take its place. Trump's tariffs are a forceful defense of the dollar's role, seen as vital to US security. Any shift away from the dollar will be slow and evolutionary, not sudden. The dollar's reign is under siege, but it's not ending soon. Its central role in geopolitics is secure for now. The US-BRICS standoff has pushed the global economy into dangerous territory. Tariffs, sanctions, and currency wars have made the world more volatile for everyone. BRICS' internal divisions complicate any unified response, giving the US room to exploit fractures. If tensions escalate, a full-blown trade war could disrupt supply chains and trigger recession. The risk lasting damage to the global trading system and eroded trust between nations. World leaders must find a way to de-escalate before crisis hits. The path ahead could mean more fragmentation or a new era of cooperation. The choices made now will shape global prosperity for generations.